Hello everyone and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 video. Today we're going to be covering the Queen's Jubilee and the Clockwork Chaos living stories. To start with, we'll go over the Queen's Jubilee update. This living story begins with the opening ceremony personal instance. To start off, I'm going to go ahead and let the Queen's first speech play right now for you guys, so I'll be back in a second.
Welcome one and all to Divinity's Reach. And welcome to the newly opened Crown Pavilion. As the city celebrates my 10th year as Kryta's monarch, we also celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. Since my coronation, humanity has withstood test upon dreadful test, yet it endures. We endure, and we always shall. We reclaimed the Great Collapse and made it a gathering place, an arena to celebrate humanity's fighting spirit. I hereby present the Watch Knights, my gift to Divinity's Reach, and a symbol of our renewed bonds of community, duty, and shared destiny.
So it's been 10 years that Queen Jennah has been in power, and this whole living story is to celebrate that it's their 10th year anniversary. For the celebration, Queen Jennah has taken the Great Collapse, which was Arts District, which was supposed to be the Canton District, that was a giant hole in Divinity's Reach, and has remade it into a giant arena that's called the Crown Pavilion. She's invited representatives from all the major cities to its great unveiling and to her big ceremony. She's also using this event to unveil a new Krytan creation, which is like these robotic protectors known as the Watch Knights. These Watch Knights use mesmer magic, which is of course the best magic because mesmers are awesome, to take any form that the fighter wants. To demonstrate the Watch Knight's abilities, Logan has a one-on-one duel with one of them. It all goes well and Logan's winning until the Watch Knight turns into Ritlock and will not respond to orders to shut down. At that moment, the great party crashers, the aetherblades, drop into the pavilion. Once these pirates are dealt with, it's noticed that a suspicious person is on a pillar nearby, and they still cannot break through the interference on the Watch Knight. So you follow Rox around, and she misses a couple times while this suspicious figure teleports away, until finally she hits her. At that point, the technicians are able to lower the arena bars, and you're able to go in and help Logan against this rogue Watch Knight. After the Watch Knight is defeated, this mysterious person teleports into the middle of the arena, and says that they'll have to make a special project out of you before teleporting away. To wrap up the instance, Logan takes the opportunity to whine at Denise, Rox and Brahmin volunteer to help, and Lord Farron acts like he usually does, and that's it. Content-wise, this update brought in a new temporary zone, which is the Crown Pavilion. The pavilion's bottom floor is divided into 6 areas, each full of Watch Knights which are transformed into different enemy creatures, with boss events that happen regularly. The top area of the pavilion is basically a catwalk area with 5 enclosed domes. These domes are where you can fight boss creatures one-on-one, and all of the achievements related to that are in a section known as the Queen's Gauntlet. And the only really other thing the Queen's Jubilee brought in was there were balloons scattered through the world, 2 in each zone besides ore, which when you did an event would allow you to teleport to Divinity's Reach through the balloons. They also each had like a chest at the top. And that pretty much wraps up the Jubilee section of the living story. But ArenaNet did something really awesome leading into the second part of the story arc. So as they usually do, they put up a preview page for what was called the Queen's Speech, which is supposed to be the next upcoming living story. The day after this page went up, it was vandalized and had graffiti all over it, and several fan sites received a package with a poem and a watch. The poem hinted that a person named Scarlet had big plans for the Queen's ceremony. The page was further vandalized with a nice mark of Scarlet was here 2 days later. And once the next part of the living story happened, it was updated one last time to its current look, with the new name Clockwork Chaos. And so, we'll move on to that part of the living story. Clockwork Chaos begins with the instant's closing ceremony, where the Queen is going to make her big announcement. I'll go ahead and let this speech that she has play out as well.
Thank you all for coming. This event is ending, but humanity's we have withstood every challenge thrown at us, because unity is our strength. Together, There is nothing we cannot withstand.
And that's my cue. Hello, DR. My name is Scarlet, and I've come to play with you. Don't panic. Yet. I've been laughing my leaves off while your queen brays about trials and endurance. It's time to show how fragile human society is. To wit, these watch nights you're so proud of? Mine now. I've also planted a few bombs around the city to keep things lively. Bet you can't find them all. Ta for now. See you soon. Oh, and I'll be taking your queen with me. Hang on, Your Majesty. It's going to be a wild ride.
Never fear, my queen. Lord Farron will save you. Well, now, that I did not expect.
So Scarlet, who it turns out was a suspicious figure from the Queen's Jubilee, interrupts Queen's speech and attempts to kidnap her. The Queen was, however, using a clone in her place for the speech, which, as my Mesmer intuition just totally called that. Scarlet also has corrupted all of the Watch Knights and has complete control over them. You're tasked with disarming the bombs that Scarlet's left around the pavilion section. And after you do, this lovely thing happens.
Oops! Did I say 4 bombs? I meant 5. Where did I put it? Oh, I remember. Right where the Seraph are gathering up the civilians. Oh, careless of me.
She's bombed our evacuation point.
By the tree, what have I done? What a monstrous tragedy. Sorry, I just couldn't keep a straight face.
Boom go a bunch of Seraph and civilians. Despite that, the Queen is safe, and Scarlet remains inside the Crown Pavilion. She, however, is not just sitting in the pavilion, but is using her portal technology to send minions of hers out into the zones of Tyria. These invasions are zone-wide events that last up to 45 minutes. Portals are opened, and twisted Watch Knights and steam creatures pour out of them. This is really interesting, actually, because the steam creatures are somehow tied to the aetherblades, while also being tied to the Asuran player character, as you can find in the Infinity Orb choice of the living story, or the personal story. In the later stages of the invasions, she calls in reinforcements of Aetherblade pirates and, surprisingly, Molten Alliance. This would also suggest that Scarlet is the one who got together the Molten Alliance, which ties in with the city speaker and name beginning with an S that the Dredge used to hint at back in the Flame and Frost story. There's not really any details on how exactly she did this, but I'm sure this is something that's going to come up in further stories. Through your participation in these invasion events, Emissary Vorp, which is the Asuran emissary, is able to reverse engineer Scarlet's portal technology, which will allow you to go into the pavilion after her. This leads you to the instance Scarlet's Playhouse. Inside Scarlet's Playhouse, you must go through the bottom floor zones of the pavilion, rescuing hostages and fighting Scarlet as you go. First thing you encounter with her is you have to save Farron and the other hostages. Scarlet is cooking Farron inside of the Flame Legion cauldron that's in the Flame Legion zone. You have to put out the fires that she's caught lighting at the bottom of the cauldron and then fight off her minions until eventually Scarlet retreats and you save the hostages. Next, you fight Scarlet in the pirate section, while the pirate ship shoots cannonballs repeatedly down at you. Scarlet has a shield that stops all damage from hitting her, which you have to deactivate by dragging her into cannon fire. The first time you do this, she even says the nice line,
Oh, cannonballs!
Ready for more.
My one weakness!
I love Scarlet so much. Next, you fight her in the ogre area, and she has an ogre club. Pretty much, it's just a dodge the big AoE cone attack fight. You finally meet her in the center of the pavilion, and she preludes the fight with a nice little speech, which I'll play now also.
Well, well, well. Someone's come to mess with my plans. Haven't you been paying attention? I do the messing with around here. I'm the messor, not the messy. It's bad enough I didn't get the queen like I wanted. Now you want to spoil all my fun? Party? Meet Hooper. Still, this is something I didn't anticipate, which makes it exciting. At least until I kill you. Let's dance.
And so you fight Scarlet once more. She has her invulnerability shield back, which you get rid of this time by luring her to jump, or it's like a weird jump teleport ability. You lure her to do that next to the explosive barrels that are scattered throughout the middle of the arena. Once you beat her, she teleports into the middle on top of a lot of explosives, and the instance ends with this last little bit of dialogue from her.
Alas, you have defeated me, and thus I have learned the error of my ways. I shall be good and sweet and nice from now on. Just kidding, but you do have my full attention now. I don't think you'll enjoy it. I keep a list of people that need sharp reminders about how insignificant they really are, and you just jumped to the top of it. It was a well-earned victory, and you should be proud. You should be happy. No, I mean it. You should be happy. So be happy right now, because shortly, very shortly, your life is going to be nothing but tears. See you soon!
So Scarlet escapes and is sure to return at some point in the future. And now she's really peeved at you specifically. That pretty much wraps up the Clockwork Chaos event story. I have to say that Clockwork Chaos is definitely my favorite living story update that ArenaNet's done to date. The invasions are mega events that basically disrupt entire zones when they happen, and they bring a full map together to work together towards one goal. Scarlet herself is an amazing villain who can do terrible things and yet make you laugh about it the next sentence. Her voice acting and script are actually incredibly well done, and I look forward to us facing her again. This story also balanced really well, giving us a good amount of lore, while also giving us something to do in the world that wasn't just you did it once and then you're done. Kudos to ArenaNet, and especially the Living Story team that was behind Clockwork Chaos. And that wraps up this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed and that this helped some of you out. I'm also going to put up a hidden video of the full story instances, opening ceremony, closing ceremony, and Scarlet's Playhouse. It won't have any of me talking over it, and it'll just be straight gameplay. There's a link in the description, and there also should be an annotation that's up on the screen right now. I hope that helps anyone who missed. They can see completely what happened in all of the instances without me yammering over what everyone's saying. Oh, and I have to throw in one last little thing, and that is this.
Later, Data.